everybody, Kimberly Crawford here, and I'm excited to be doing a guest video for ellenhudson.com today. And I thought that I would show you a fun and quick way to make an elegant holiday card. I don't know about you, but the time is flying by as the holidays are approaching, and I do like to send out a few handmade cards. And this technique lends itself to not only an elegant card, but it's really quick and easy. So what I started with is I started by stamping the poinsettia image from Mistletoe and Holly, and what I did is I used some watermark ink because I was going to heat emboss, and I like this ink because it stays wetter longer. And I used some detail embossing powder, and detail embossing powder is great because the fibers, or whatever you want to call the flakes of the embossing powder, are smaller, and they just provide a lot more detail, especially when you're going to do the sentiment with smaller words like that. And now what I want to do is I want to watercolor these images, and I like doing this with embossing because of the raised lines already around it. It just lends itself to this really great look. I'm going to use my distress markers today, but you could do this with any dye-based ink pads or your distress ink pads, but I wanted to grab some markers. So I'm going to start with Festive Berries, and I'm going to color it onto my craft mat. You could also color this onto an acrylic block if you wanted to, but I like using my surface. Then I'm going to take a spray bottle with some water and add some water to it. When I spray water onto this, I like spraying water from one side. That way I know I have less intense color on one side and more intense color on the other, giving me a chance to control the color that I have a little bit better. I'm going to just take a small fine paintbrush and grab some color and some water and go ahead and start coloring in my image, and just kind of going around it and following along with the image. I'm going to do a couple rounds of color here, so I'm going to start with just a basic bit of color here first, and we'll go back in and we're going to add some more depth with some shading. Now, as you can see, as I'm doing this, I'm getting a little bit of puddling of this water and color on the edge of my embossing, and that's okay. What I do is I just take a paper towel and I will go in and just dab off the extra that's floating there. And now what I'm going to do is, now that I've dabbed off the extra and kind of dried it a little bit, I'm going to go back in and put a little bit more color in places that I want to have some shading and some depth added in here. So I'm going to go down to the very base of my image. You can also see I'm grabbing some more of the intense marker color to achieve this look too. And there we go. I'm going to go in and do these little leaves in here. And these smaller leaves are going to puddle up because there's a lot more embossing there. And so I'm going to go back in with my paper towel, but I'm going to make sure that I have a clean spot and pick that up. I'm going to clean off my brush here, and when I go to the centers, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of brown, but I'm actually going to just use the actual marker. The spots on the inside of this flower are so very small that it'll work well to just go right in with my marker. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that same paper towel and I'm going to put just a little bit of water on there and get it slightly damp, and I'm just going to go into the center and kind of soften it up, and you can see it picked up a little bit of the color and softened that poinsettia up. So there I've got this beautiful colored result here using my markers and some water. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to continue finishing this other flower. Okay, so now that I've finished this, I want to add a little bit more background to what's going on here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take another color, and I want to add just a little bit of green in here. And I am going to color this one, and I'm using Mowed Lawn. I'm going to color it back on my mat again, and I'm going to spritz it with water. And I'm going to take my paintbrush, and I'm going to stick it in the end into the water here, and I'm going to just tap it, and I'm going to show you on my craft mat first. See, when you tap it, you get these nice bits of color that are going to drop. So I'm going to stick it in again, get a little bit more color, a little bit water, and we're going to just put some nice splatters. I like the way this finishes things off and kind of ties some things together. And just like the way it turns out. And if you want more intense color, just put less water down when you do it. And there we go. So now we have this great holiday card. Make sure that you let these water droplets dry, and simple, beautiful, and elegant, and boy, these stamps just lend itself to this technique totally. Have fun creating some beautiful watercolored cards this holiday season.